The year was 2498, and Earth was a shadow of the power it once was. The wars with alien empires had drained its fleets, destroyed its colonies, and broken its pride. The once mighty human defense force now struggled to protect even the inner planets. Every week, reports came in of more colonies falling, more outposts vanishing, and more families lost to the darkness of space. In a lonely listening post, orbiting far beyond Neptune, to watch officers sat in silence. Their job was simple: monitor deep space for unusual signals. Most days, it was nothing but static. But on this day, the silence was broken, sir. "I think you need to hear this," one of the officers said, leaning forward in disbelief. Through the static came a pulsar repeating code. Slow, steady, deliberate. The officer's fingers flew across the console as he isolated the sound. It was human military code, the kind used over 2 centuries ago, the kind no one had seen since the old Rift Wars, the kind that should not exist anymore. The code was old, but the encryption, it matched high-level Earth Defense Authority standards, and buried within the signal was a message, just 8 words: Supercarrier, Titanus, operational, returning to Sol. Hold the line. The officer stared at the screen, his throat dry. The Titanus was a name out of legend, a warship unlike anything humanity had built since. The largest, most powerful supercarrier in human history. It had disappeared during the final year of the Andromeda Rift War, lost in a mysterious wormhole collapse. No wreckage had ever been found, no survivors, no final transmission. For 200 years, the Titanus had been a ghost story told in naval academies, a symbol of bravery and of loss. Now it was talking again. The signal spread quickly through military channels, then leaked to civilian networks. The words Titanus and Hold the Line lit up news screens across the inner planets. People wanted to believe. But in the high offices of Earth's Fleet Command, there was only suspicion. "This could be a trick," Admiral Reyes said to the War Council. "The Cathari Alliance knows our history. They could be using this to lure our ships into a trap. Or," said another officer quietly, "it's real. And if it's real, this ship could change everything." Far beyond human space, alien ears were also listening. The Cathari warlords and their allies had heard of the Titanus and they feared it. A single ship of such power returning could shatter their plans to crush Earth once and for all. They began moving fleets, their orders clear: find the Titanus and destroy it before it reaches Earth. Back in the listening post, the officers traced the signal's origin. It was coming from a desolate stretch of space, far beyond Pluto, near the edge of the Kuiper Belt. The signal pulsed again, like a heartbeat in the dark. Fleet Command made a decision. A small task force would be sent, fast escorts and reconnaissance ships. They would investigate quietly, without drawing attention. If the Titanus was real, they would bring her home. If not, they would destroy whatever was sending the signal. Lieutenant Commander Hale, a veteran of too many retreats, was chosen to lead the mission. He stood in the hangar bay, looking at the cold blackness beyond the docking gates. 2 centuries. He muttered, "If this is really her, what's she been doing all this time?" The fleet launched in silence, slipping into the cold shadows of the outer system. Days passed without incident, until finally in the 11th day their sensors picked it up. At first, it was just a dark shape against the stars. Then, as the ships drew closer, details emerged. Hull plating scorched black, massive weapon mounts lining the edges, towering hangar bays big enough to hold entire destroyers. And across the bow, barely visible under layers of damage, were the faded letters. TITNUS. The ship was real. It was here, and it was alive. Before the task force could make contact, a deep, calm voice came over every channel at once. It was not human. It was the ship's AI. Attention, human vessels. I am Aegis, tactical AI of the Titanus. We have returned to fulfill our final mission. Stand by for docking instructions. Hale exchanged a glance with his crew. The voice was steady, but there was something in it, something heavy, as if the ship itself had been waiting all this time to speak again. And then came the final transmission before everything changed. Warning. Hostile forces inbound. Multiple alien vessels. They know we are here. The darkness beyond the Titanus lit up as alien warships closed in, their engines burning like fire in the void. The crew of the Titanus, silent for centuries, was about to wake up. The alien ships came fast, sleek, predatory, their hulls glinting with the cold light of distant suns. They moved like a pack of wolves, encircling their prey. The prey, in this case, was the largest warship humanity had ever built. But the Titanus did not move. From the bridge of his escort frigate, Lieutenant Commander Hale felt sweat drip down his neck. The readings were clear. 20 Catheri warships, closing fast. His own small fleet of escorts could not stand against even half of them. Titanus. We have multiple enemy contacts, Hale said into the com. Recommend immediate withdrawal. The AI's voice returned, calm as if reciting a weather report. Withdrawal denied. Weapon systems initializing. Crew revival sequence at 20%. Hale's eyes widened. Crew revival. What crew? The ones who never left, the AI said. Before Hale could ask more, the alien fleet opened fire. Lances of plasma streaked across the void, aimed directly at the silent giant dot. And then the Titanus woke up. Her dark hull came alive with light. Energy conduits glowed along her flanks. Massive turrets rotated with a deep mechanical hum. Shields flared to life in shimmering layers. The first volley from the Cathari fleet smashed into the shield's end, dissolved like waves breaking on. Stone, the Titanus, fired back. From her forward batteries came beams of white energy so bright they left after images in the eyes of every human who saw them. 2 alien cruisers were split apart instantly, their burning wreckage tumbling into the void. The Cathari faltered, but only for a moment. They swarmed in from all sides, determined to overwhelm the ancient warship. On board the Titanus, deep inside, cryopods that had not opened in over 2 centuries, a lone human stirred. His hair was white, his face scarred, but his eyes opened with the sharp clarity of a soldier. Captain Elias Voss had been asleep for 215 years. Now he was awake. He stepped into the Titanus bridge, feeling the deep vibration of her reactors, powering at full strength. The AI's voice greeted him. Captain Voss, the situation is hostile. Enemy strength, 20 vessels. Friendly strength. Voss gave a thin smile. We'll manage. The Titanus unleashed her full arsenal. Gravity lances punched through enemy hulls, dragging ships into crushing implosions. Phase torpedoes, weapons banned in most of the galaxy, slipped through shields and detonated inside engine cores. Every shot was precise. Every kill was clean. Hale's escorts tried to assist, but they were barely needed. The Titanus was fighting like a predator long denied the hunt, but then the enemy adapted. The Cathari, brought in reinforcement frigates armed with shield disruptor missiles, old technology, but deadly if used in large numbers. A swarm of them streaked toward the Titanus. Voss didn't flinch. Aegis, deploy the veil, acknowledged. From the Titanus hull burst a cloud of dark particles, spreading out like ink in water. The missiles entered the cloud and vanished. From sensors then reappeared, spinning aimlessly before detonating harmlessly far from the ship. Hale's jaw dropped. What was that? Obsolete enemy tactics, Voss replied, as if explaining a chess move to a child. In less than 10 minutes, the battle was over. Wreckage floated in all directions, glowing faintly against the black. The Titanus had taken some hits, but her shields and armor held strong. For a moment, there was silence. Then Aegis spoke again. Captain, the Cathari will send more, larger fleets. They will not allow us to reach Earth. Voss nodded slowly. Then we'll make sure they can't stop us. He turned toward Hale's frigate on the com screen. Lieutenant Commander, your escorts are to fall in behind us. The Titanus will lead the way home. Hale hesitated. With respect, Captain, that's suicide. Every alien fleet within 100 light-years will be chasing us. Voss's eyes hardened. And they'll never catch us. The Titanus engaged. Her ancient jump drives. The escort fleet followed, their hulls rattling under the gravitational pull of the warship's immense power. In a blink, they vanished into slipspace. But even as they left, signals rippled through alien space. Orders were sent. Warships mobilized. The hunt had begun, somewhere deep in the Titanus, in a locked vault sealed for centuries. Strange weapons. Weighted devices so dangerous they had been forbidden by humanity itself. And Captain Voss knew they might have to use them. As the ship raced toward Earth, Hale couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a return. This was the beginning of something far bigger. Because if the Titanus had survived, what else might be waiting out there in the void? The Titanus and her small escort fleet tore through slipspace, the distorted tunnel of light stretching endlessly ahead of them. For most ships, slipspace travel was quiet. For the Titanus, it was war. Every jump brought a new ambush. The first came only hours after leaving the Kuiper Belt 3 Cathari dreadnoughts, waiting at a choke point. They didn't even have time to hail before the Titanus forward batteries vaporized them. But the battle cost time, and time was something they didn't have. The Cathari were calling in fleets from every sector. They weren't trying to defeat the Titanus in one battle, they were trying to bleed her dry before she could reach Earth. On the Titanus bridge, Captain Elias Voss stood at the central display. The holographic star map showed their route to Sala, red line, dotted with danger zones. Each one flashed as enemy fleets moved into position. Lieutenant Commander Hale's frigate, the Resolute, cruised close to the Titanus. Her crew tense, but loyal. Hale's voice crackled over comms. Captain, at this rate, we won't make it to Earth before the Cathari bring their full armada down on us. Voss didn't look away from the map. Then we make them pay for every minute they delay. Us. The next ambush was worse 5 enemy heavy cruisers and a swarm of smaller corvettes. This time, the Titanus shields took a beating. Blue arcs of plasma splashed across her hull, tearing chunks from her armor. The escorts fought fiercely, but they were badly outgunned. In the chaos, the Titanus detected a faint signaler civilian distress call. A convoy of human colony ships, carrying thousands of refugees, was under attack just a few million kilometers away. Hale's voice was tight. Captain, if we divert to help them, we lose more time. Voss's jaw tightened. We. Don't leave our people behind. Ever set course. The Titaness dropped into the battle like a hammer. Her massive shadow eclipsed the colony ships as her guns unleashed blinding arcs of energy. Enemy raiders scattered, but the Titaness hunted them down one by one. In less than 7 minutes, the convoy was safe. The grateful colonists sent a single message: we thought Earth had forgotten us. We were wrong. The Titaness absorbed the civilians into her vast hangar bays, adding thousands of lives to the ones she now carried home. But the victory came at a cost. One of the escorts was lost, torn apart by enemy fire. The crew's last act was ramming their crippled ship into a Cathari battleship, taking it with them. The crew of the Titaness mourned, but there was no time to rest. Slipspace travel resumed, faster this time. The ship's old engines pushed to limits they had not reached in 2 centuries. As they neared the final jump to Earth, sensors lit up. This wasn't an ambush. This was a wall. An entire Cathari siege group waited for them. 24 battleships, dozens of destroyers, and support carriers bristling with fighters. It was the largest fleet Voss had seen since the Rift War. Hale's voice was grim. We can't fight that, Captain. Even you can't. Voss looked at Aegis, the AI options. 1. We use the Rift Cannon. Hale frowned. The what? Aegis's voice was flat. An experimental wormhole weapon. It was banned by the Defense Authority before our disappearance. It will tear a hole in space large enough for us to pass and destroy anything caught in the collapse. Hale stared. Why was it banned? Unstable. Risk of total spatial implosion. Voss didn't hesitate. Do it. The Titaness forward section shifted, panels sliding away to reveal a colossal cannon unlike anything Hale had ever seen. Energy built along its length. The air itself in the bridge vibrating as the ship's core poured power into it. The Cathari opened fire, desperate to destroy the Titaness before the weapon could fire. Escorts took heavy damage. Fighters swarmed. Then the cannon fired. Space in front of the Titaness warped, twisted, and ripped open like paper. A glowing tear yawned wide, swallowing the nearest Cathari ships. Their screams over comms were cut off as the rift collapsed, dragging their wreckage into nothingness. The Titaness surged forward, her escorts clinging to her wake. In seconds, they were through and gone. Behind them, the rift imploded, wiping the battlefield clean. On the other side, there was only one jump left, one jump to Earth. But the Cathari would not stop. They would come with everything they had, and Captain Voss knew the real fight was just about to begin. Asterisk, the Titaness emerged from slipspace into the Sol System's card, battered and beautiful below her. Earth turned slowly in the sunlight, a blue jewel against the black. But there was no peace here. The planet was already under siege. From the moment they arrived, sensors screamed warnings. The largest alien armada in history had gathered over 100 capital ships, thousands of smaller vessels, and endless swarms of fighters. The Cathari were making sure the Titaness never reached orbit. The human defense fleets were in chaos. Frigates darted between massive alien cruisers, trying to protect civilian shuttles fleeing the cities. The orbital defense platforms fired until their barrels overheated. But it wasn't enough. In the Titaness bridge, Captain Elias Voss stood tall, his eyes fixed on the carnage. Around him, the crew new and old waited for his command. Status? Voss asked. Aegis, the ship's AI, responded instantly. Shields at 72%. Hull integrity holding. ammunition sufficient for one full-scale engagement. Enemy fleet is focused on the surface assault. We have the advantage. If we strike now. Voss looked at Hale, whose frigate Resolute floated in formation beside the Titaness. This is it, Commander. We hit them hard and fast. No second chances. Hale nodded grimly. We're with you, all the way. Voss raised his voice so it carried across the entire ship. Crew of the Titaness. 2 centuries ago, we swore to defend humanity. That oath has no expiration date. Today, we honor it. The Titaness dove into battle. Her first volley shattered 3 Cathari battleships, the explosions rippling across space. Fighters swarmed toward her, but the carrier's flak batteries lit up, turning the void into a storm of fire. The Cathari flagship, a monstrous vessel twice the size of any human dreadnought, moved to intercept. Its weapons lit the Titaness shields with blinding bursts, but the Supercarrier's armor held. Target their command ship, Voss ordered. The Titaness unleashed her gravity lances, tearing chunks of armor from the flagship. The Cathari fought back, sending boarding craft toward the Titaness hull. Marines in powered armor met them at the airlocks, the corridors echoing with the roar of gunfire and the clash of steel. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, the defense forces rallied. Seeing the Titaness in orbit ignited something in them, a fire that had almost gone out. Soldiers who had been falling back now pushed forward. Pilots who had been retreating turned and charged. But the battle was far from over. Aegis' voice cut through the comms. Captain, multiple enemy reinforcements inbound from slipspace. If they arrive, Earth will be lost. Voss clenched his fists. Then we stop them before they get here. He ordered the Titaness into high orbit directly above the slipspace entry points. The ship's engines roared, pushing her into position as her weapons prepared for one last strike. The rift cannon began charging. The weapon had nearly destroyed them before, and using it again this close to Earth was dangerous, but there was no choice. The first Cathari reinforcements appeared in a burst of light. The rift cannon fired. Space tore open once more, dragging the enemy ships into the screaming void. The collapse ripped apart the second wave before they could even engage, but the energy backlash hit the Titaness hard. Shields collapsed. Hull breaches tore open across the midsection. Fires burned through the hangar decks, damage control to sections 4 through 8. Hale's voice shouted over the comms. Keep her in the fight. Even crippled, the Titaness fought on. Her surviving escorts formed a protective ring, buying precious seconds as she lined up her final attack. The Cathari flagship moved in for the kill. Its forward cannons charged, ready to punch through the Titaness' failing armor. Voss stood silently for a moment, then gave his last order. All batteries full power. Target the heart. Every gun, every lance, every torpedo launcher on. The Titaness fired at once. The combined blast punched through the flagship's core, igniting its reactor in a chain reaction that lit the void brighter than the sun. The explosion shattered the Cathari command structure. Without their leader, the alien fleets broke apart, scattering into retreat. Earth was safe. For now, in the aftermath, the Titaness drifted in orbit, her hull scorched and pitted. Thousands of refugees looked out from her hangars at the planet. Below, tears in their eyes. Voss sent one last transmission to the galaxy, broadcasting on every channel, human and alien alike. We were never gone, and we will never fall. The sight of the Titaness above Earth became the new symbol of human unity. Songs were written about her return. Children learned her name before they could read. and every enemy of Earth remembered. The day the Lost Supercarrier came back, and somewhere, in the cold silence beyond the stars, the Titaness waited because the captain knew that this victory would not be the last battle. Asterisk.